Question number one is the one that made you fall in love with wrestling. So this is the wrestler that really just hooked you in. And that's a tough one for me. I started watching wrestling back in the WCW era in the 90s. I was a big Ric Flair guy, big NWO Black, NWO Red. Rey Mysterio was there for a minute. There was a lot going on, right? But I was really young and I was just watching it because it was a bunch of dudes beating the hell out of each other and cursing at each other and doing some crazy shit. And that was cool to me as a young kid, just seeing that and being like, yo, this is dope. Me and my friends used to go to the park and just try out silly wrestling moves. The guy that really hooked me in, that like got them claws in deep, and like, that was me now. I'm a wrestling fan, was Mick Foley. And we can talk about any iteration of Mick Foley if you want it to be Cactus Jack, Dude Love, Mankind. I don't care which version you remember him as or you kind of refer to him as mentally. He was that guy for me, the guy that showed me that, yes, you could do the promos and yes, you can have this amazing in-ring action, but there's a hardcore element to this as well that takes things beyond what you would normally expect to see. Getting thrown off of the side of a railing into an electricity box, getting thrown off a Hell in a Cell, having a ring bell smashed across you, like dinged at your ear and being made to go deaf. All the tacks and everything that he went through, the chair shots to the head, just putting your body on the line. And I know that now, like in 2025, a lot of those bumps are considered stupid, are considered unnecessary. And to an extent, I agree. But to another extent, that's the type of wrestling I grew up with. And that's the type of wrestling that I'm like, yo, this is dope. Do I think it's dangerous? Yes. Is that part of the appeal? Yes. Is it the only type of wrestling I can enjoy? Not at all. I think there's such a wide scope of wrestling styles, wrestling talent that I really fuck with. But Mankind was that guy for me. He was the one that got me into it. He was the reason I became a fan of ECW later on. Hardcore Holly being another dude. Like those were the guys that like I loved wrestling, but they're the ones where you're like, I cannot miss this pay-per-view because it's Mankind versus Rock. I cannot miss this pay-per-view because Mankind is in a Hell in a Cell. Whenever Mankind or Mick Foley or whoever was on that card, you knew it was going to be some wild shit and you tuned in. And that to me was what kept me coming back. And they say, like, whenever you watch like interviews with wrestlers, it's like, who can keep you tuning in? And to me, that was Mick Foley. So the one that made me fall in love with wrestling, Mick Foley. I know a lot of people are going to have different answers, and that one might be a little bit out there for some people, but it's the truth. So that's kind of where I am with it. Your newest favorite wrestler. That's question 2. Your newest favorite wrestler. If you listening, obviously I'm English. I've got an English accent. I live in the UK. I was born in the UK. Grew up in the UK. Yes, I cover an American sport in basketball. I love basketball. Played it since I was a kid. Wrestling and basketball are like my two main joys in life that don't involve family. Like if I'm gonna chill out, I'm watching wrestling. If I want to go outside and do some actively, like I call it active chilling, that's me playing basketball. So those are my two joys. So being an English guy and knowing that English wrestling at the moment in terms of the amount of talent that's coming out of this country is actually quite on fire. If you look across all the major promotions and even some of the smaller promotions that are on their way up. So I don't think it's going to be a shock to anyone that Will Ospreay at the minute is my favorite wrestler. And I don't think that should be a travesty. I think Will Ospreay is one of the best in-ring talents there is. His promo work has improved greatly since moving over to AEW. I think that he's just a fun guy to watch. Do I think that there's still room to improve? Of course. I think there's always room to improve for everybody. But again, I just want to look at the good in wrestling. There's enough people out there doing bad faith takes and finding reasons to hate this and hate that. I think Will Ospreay is great. I think he's super fun. Some of the moves he can do off the top rope, some of the standing moonsaults and stuff he can do are great. I do think there's always room to improve, but I think he's one of the most fun English wrestlers out there at the moment. If we're talking just other favorites, MJF is right there. I think that Cody Rhodes is clearly one of the ones as well. And then we're going to get to a couple of others later in this question. But number one for me right now is undoubtedly, without a shadow, Will Ospreay. And then obviously you can go down the list. Everybody's got their top 5, top 10, right? I'm really curious who yours is for that as well. So please do leave a comment. So we move on to question 3. Question 3 is the one that always makes you smile. The wrestler that when they come on TV, you're just like, yeah, man, I'm happy. That's Sami Zayn for me. I think Sami Zayn is a super fun wrestler to watch. There's just so much range in what he can do on the mic, in the ring. He's that type of underdog that you're always rooting for. And what I'm a big fan of is the way that continually finds himself in these major storylines and has a moment where he's kind of front and center, and then plays a role as like a peripheral character, and then he may be somewhere in the middle of those two things. And he did a great job in that Bloodline saga when he was part of that storyline, and then when he was on the periphery, and then he popped in and out, just showing the range of his like promotional work skills and his in-ring skills. Like that match against Roman was great. I think that the way he's always fighting out of the back foot is brilliant. Big fan of what we saw on Raw on Monday with the whole Seth Rollins and Braun Breaker angle and Sami Zayn getting stomped and what that's going to mean moving forwards. Whenever Sami Zayn's on TV, I just smile. I think his entrance is fun. I think his whole persona is just fun. He's, again, I just like wrestling. So when it's fun and when it's something that I can kind of get into and just enjoy, then that's when I'm really going to mess with it. And I think Sami Zayn for me is that guy that just makes me smile. Which leads us on to a comfort wrestler. Now, this is different, right? This is like who I watch when I'm feeling down, who I watch when I just want to watch wrestling. It doesn't need to be new. It just needs to be like I'm putting my feet up and I'm going to watch some wrestling for 25 minutes. I just want to watch a match. And this isn't a fair answer, but it's the truth. Like, that's probably to me, like, I'm a tag team guy when it's that type of stuff. If I'm going to watch wrestling and it's an older match and I just want to have fun, like, there's loads of dope singles matches that you can watch. And like, go and watch Kenny Omega in New Japan. Go watch Will Ospreay earlier years in New Japan. Watch any Bullet Club match. There's loads of singles matches that you can go and watch that are brilliant. But if I'm just trying to just not have to think and have that kind of, I'm just chilling, probably eating some popcorn or drinking a beer or whatever it is, then the Dudley Boys are actually one of those comforts for me. Watching them in their TLC matches just brings back a bit of nostalgia with a little bit of that hardcore twist. If it's like got the tables and the chairs in there, the 3Ds, just something me and my pals used to do down the park. Would throw one guy up and just try and 3D him. There's a lot of cool shit that comes with the Dudley Boys, and for me, comfort and nostalgia kind of go hand in hand, especially as you start to get older. I mean, I'm not old by any stretch, but I'm also not young by any stretch anymore. I'm right in that middle. So they were one of the more comforting wrestling groups for me. I don't say I watch them a ton. There's loads of other stuff I'm trying to keep up with. Wrestling is a 18-hour a week gig if you want to keep up with everything, and like that's just too much for me at the best of times. But yeah, comfort wrestling, I can go tag team. It'll be the Dudley Boys, some old school Hardy Boys. If you're going singles, then, you know, old school Undertaker. I love watching Undertaker WrestleMania matches, watching that run go through. Masked Kane, not unmasked Kane. Masked Kane. I like Masked Kane. You know, there's a bunch. I'm not really super high on some of the newer luchas, but like Penta, I love watching Penta. I love watching his Lucha Underground stuff. Ray Phoenix is great. When I say newer ones, I'm talking like I'm not really big on Dralistico or Bandigo or any of those guys. But I think there's some luchas that you can go and watch that are super comforting to watch. I think Penta's one of the best out there. Rey Mysterio, obviously. So there we go. The one you missed the most. This is number 5. So the wrestler you missed the most. And that to me ties into number 1. I feel like those two are hand in hand, and it has to be the same answer, because the guy that made me fall in love with wrestling and really become like a huge wrestling fan is clearly going to be the guy I miss the most, right? So it's Mick Foley. What I will say is you can add in pretty much any of the main Attitude Era guys there. So Kane, Stone Cold, Rock, Undertaker, Triple H, all these guys in their prime in the ring, Kurt Angle, Eddie Guerrero, all these dudes that like I grew up watching that were elite. I miss all of them, and for many different reasons, but I miss all of them. And so there's a whole list of people that I miss. If we're going more modern as well, it's not so much maybe I miss them, but I miss them on a certain promotion. Like, obviously, I miss Prime Edge a lot. I think that Prime Edge was brilliant. I miss Dean Ambrose, but I like him as John Moxley too. Do you know what I mean? I miss the Shield as a whole. I think a lot of people do. So there's a lot that we can kind of say that we miss, but I think Mankind has to be the number one answer, because, again, the guy that made me fall in love with wrestling is clearly going to be the guy that I miss the most. Makes sense, right? Moves us over to number 6, the one that you'd protect with your whole life. Now, this is a bullshit question because I ain't protecting no one I don't know with my whole life, period, point blank. If I had to, I mean, if I really, really, really had to, I'm protecting my damn self. Do you know, I actually don't know the answer to this question. There isn't a wrestler alive that I'd protect with my whole life, period. If you've got one, let me know. But I'm taking this very literal, and there isn't one. So, no one. Sorry. The one that you're rooting for the most. Now, this one's kind of going to be a little controversial and a little not controversial at the same time, right? So, it's probably Jey Uso. And I know that a lot of people are like, oh, Jey Uso sucks. His in-ring work's not great. He's nothing but an entrance. Once you get past the entrance, the whole experience goes downhill. I hear you. And I understand where you're coming from. I really, honestly, truly do. But I ain't about none of that. Like, for me, wrestling's fun. And to be fun, you need the crowd participation. They need to be able to make you feel some type of way. They need to make you excited, or they need to make you pissed off or whatever. And I think that Jey Uso does all of that. And his in-ring work isn't fantastic, but it's not awful either. Like, he does put on some okay matches. And for me, it's all about the experience, right? Like, there's other wrestlers out there that do amazing in-ring work, and they're brilliant. Bryan Danielson was one of my all-time faves in terms of technical wrestling. But when Jey Uso's music hits and the whole, like, entrance comes on and the whole theme and the feeling and the vibe, like, I feel the type of way about that. I get into that. And if it can make me feel that way from my couch, then, and it makes me be like, man, I'd love to be there and buy a ticket to be there and experience that, then that's what wrestling's about to me. It's about pulling me in. It's about making me feel like a kid again. It's about making me not care that some people are like, oh, you watch wrestling in your 30s. What's wrong with you? Like, I don't care about any of that at that moment in time, because it's like, I just want to be there. I want to be in that moment. And I'm like that with a lot of AEW guys too. Please don't think I'm saying WWE does that better. I'm just saying that Jey Uso is that guy where I'm always rooting for him. If you go over to WWE, I'm sorry, to AEW, I feel that way about Swerve. I feel like Swerve's, but the only difference is Swerve isn't just, doesn't have people saying he's just an entrance. But I feel exactly the same way about Swerve as what I do about Jey Uso, where I'm constantly rooting for them. And I feel like there's a vibe there. There's an energy. I'd love to be in the crowd for the Swerve entrance with Prince Nana, and I'd like to be getting involved there too. It's the same type of energy, that same type of vibe. It's just, I like to feel like wrestling is a form of escapism, and I like to feel like I'm escaping. If I'm watching it, it's because I want to escape from what's going on in my day-to-day. There's no money worries, there's no work hassles. You know, you're not worried about picking your kid up from school or none of that shit. You're just escaping and being the same person you was 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, just watching wrestling and enjoying what's going on. I think Swerve does that great. I think that Jey Uso is another one that does it brilliantly. It's another reason I'm a big fan of Sami Zayn. There's a bunch, right? When you can get that vibe and that feeling, like MJF makes me feel a type of way. Does it, like, it's different because he pisses me off, and I'm like, man, but he's also great at what he does, and he's great at being in the ring, and this whole storyline with the Hurt Syndicate's making me feel a type of way because it doesn't make no damn sense right now. But it makes me feel I'm invested. And when I'm invested, I'm enjoying it because now my mind's focused on this, and that's what I'm looking for, that escapism. So they're the type of people that I root for, the ones that can blend everything together and make me feel something. I'm really curious. That's a great one for me. So I'm curious about who everybody else would choose there. If you've chosen to stick around this long, hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be doing this more frequently. I will still try and get interviews with wrestlers, because who doesn't want to talk with wrestlers? Again, I'm not trying to be anybody. I'm not trying to be Chris Van Vliet. I'm not trying to be anyone. I just want to talk wrestling, as I like to call it. I just want to talk wrestling with people. And if you want to talk wrestling with me, then great. We can talk wrestling together. We can do it in the comments. I'm more than happy to have people jump on the show. I'm not trying to gatekeep nothing. I just want to talk wrestling. With that being said, this is Taylor Talks Wrestling, episode 4. Stay tuned for episode 5. They're going to be far more frequent moving forward. Peace.